The blood was everywhere. It ran under the kitchen table, soaked into the rug, and climbed the white walls like dark fingers. The window was open, and the cold night air pushed the curtains in and out, as if the house itself was breathing. On the floor lay a small wooden box, cracked open. Inside it had been letters. Now the letters were gone. In the middle of the room was a chair turned over on its side, and above it all, carved deep into the wall with a sharp object, were 3 words that made even the strongest police officers step back in silence. No one is safe. The body had not been found yet. That was the worst part, because whoever did this wanted to be seen, wanted to be feared, wanted the whole town to know that something very evil had just begun. As the first siren screamed closer, one question burned in the air like fire. What kind of person could do something so cruel, and why hadn't anyone seen it coming? That question would haunt the town of Brookside for years. But to understand how this nightmare began, we have to go back. Back before the blood, back before the fear, back to a place that believed kindness could fix anything. Back to the beginning. Brookside was the kind of town people trusted. Kids rode bikes until dark. Neighbors waved from their porches. Doors were often left unlocked, because nothing bad ever seemed to happen there. Emily Carter believed in that more than anyone. Emily was 32 years old, with soft brown hair and a smile that made people feel safe. She worked at a local library, where she helped kids learn to read and helped older folks find books that reminded them of better days. She remembered everyone's name. She listened when people talked, and she believed that even the worst people could change if someone showed them kindness. Her best friend, Sarah Miller, used to tease her about it. "You trust people too much," Sarah would say while they drank coffee at the small cafe on Main Street. "Someone has to," Emily would reply. "If we all stop trusting, what kind of world do we have left?" Sarah was different. She was careful. She worked as a nurse at the town clinic and had seen what people could do when they were angry or scared. Still, she loved Emily like a sister and watched out for her as best she could. Then there was Mark Davis. Mark had moved to Brookside about a year earlier. He was quiet, thin, and always seemed tired. He rented the old gray house near the woods, the one most people avoided because it felt lonely and cold. Mark didn't talk much, but when he did, his words were polite and soft. Emily noticed him one afternoon at the library. He stood in the history section for a long time, staring at books without touching them. "Can I help you find something?" she asked. Mark looked surprised, like he hadn't expected anyone to care. I'm looking for letters," he said. "Old ones. Personal ones." Emily smiled. "You're in the right place." That was the start. Mark began coming to the library every week. Sometimes he borrowed books. Sometimes he just sat and wrote in a notebook. Emily always said hello. She asked how he was doing. She never pushed when he didn't answer. Slowly, he started to talk. He told her he had lost his family when he was young, that he moved from place to place, that he felt invisible most of the time. Emily listened. She always listened. "You matter," she told him once, "even if it doesn't feel like it." Mark looked at her for a long time when she said that. His eyes were dark, deep, and full of something Emily could not name. Around the same time, strange things began to happen in Brookside. Nothing big at first. A dog went missing. Then a mailbox was smashed late at night. Someone painted a red symbol on the school wall, but no one knew what it meant. The police said it was probably bored teens. Emily believed that too. "People don't just turn bad," she said when Sarah warned her to be careful. "Something makes them that way." Sarah frowned. "And sometimes that something is already inside them." One evening, Emily stayed late at the library to organize donated books. It was raining hard, and the streets were empty. As she locked the door, she saw Mark standing across the street under a broken streetlight. "Do you need a ride?" she asked. He shook his head. "I like the rain." She laughed softly. "You're strange, Mark." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Emily," he said, "do you believe everyone can be saved?" She thought for a moment. "I believe everyone deserves a chance." Mark nodded slowly. "Even monsters?" That question stayed with her long after she drove home. Over the next few weeks, Emily noticed changes in him. He seemed more nervous. He asked strange questions. About trust. About secrets. About how much pain a person could take before they broke. She told Sarah about it. "That's not normal," Sarah said. "Promise me you'll be careful." Emily said, but she wasn't sure anymore. Then came the letters. Emily found the first one slipped between the pages of a book Mark had returned. It was handwritten, neat and careful. It thanked her for listening, for being kind, for seeing him. She felt proud, happy. The second letter was different. It talked about anger, about being ignored, about how the world punished good people and rewarded cruel ones. The third letter scared her. It spoke about justice, about balance, about making people feel the same pain they cause others. Emily wanted to help him. She really did. But something about the words felt heavy, like a storm coming. She asked Mark about the letters the next time she saw him. He smiled calmly. "Do they bother you?" "A little," she said honestly. "I just want to understand." "You will," he replied, "soon." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Brookside, about the missing dog, about the red symbol, about the way Mark looked at her when she spoke about kindness. The next morning, Sarah didn't show up for work. At first, no one worried. People get sick. People run late. By noon, Sarah's phone went straight to voicemail. By evening, Emily was standing in front of Sarah's house, knocking again and again, her heart beating fast. The door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. The TV was on. A cup of coffee sat cold on the table. But Sarah was gone. On the kitchen counter was a small wooden box. Empty. And carved into the wall above it were 3 words, deep and angry. "No one is safe." Emily's hand began to shake as she stepped back. Then her phone buzzed. A new message. From an unknown number. It read, "Kindness is a price. Are you ready to pay it?" At that moment, Emily understood one terrifying truth. The evil in Brookside was not random. It was personal, and it had only just begun. Emily did not sleep that night. She sat on her couch with the lights on, her phone in her hand, reading the message again and again. The words felt cold, like they were written with no heart at all. "Kindness has a price. Are you ready to pay it?" She wanted to believe it was a sick joke. She wanted to believe Sarah had just gone somewhere without telling anyone. But the empty house, the wooden box, and the words on the wall kept playing in her mind like a broken song. By morning, the whole town of Brookside knew Sarah Miller was missing. Police cars lined the street outside Sarah's house. Officers walked in and out, wearing gloves, taking photos, asking questions. Neighbors stood in small groups, whispering, shaking their heads. Emily answered the same questions again and again. When was the last time you saw her? Did she seem upset? Did she mention anyone acting strange? Emily told them everything she could. About the coffee plans they had made. About how Sarah had warned her to be careful. About the letters, though she felt foolish saying it out loud. Detective John Harris listened closely. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had worked many cases, but something about this one made his jaw tight. "You did the right thing telling us," he said gently. "We'll find her." Emily nodded, but fear sat heavy in her chest. As the day went on, the police searched the woods near Sarah's house. They checked roads, stores, and cameras. No sign of her. No sign of a struggle, either. It was like Sarah had vanished into thin air. Brookside changed that day. People locked their doors. Parents kept their children inside. The cafe on Main Street closed early. The air felt different, thick with worry. Emily tried to keep her normal routine. She went to work at a library, hoping being around books and children would calm her. But every time the door opened, her heart jumped. Around noon, Mark walked in. Emily froze when she saw him. He looked the same as always. Calm, quiet, carrying his notebook under his arm. "Good morning," he said softly. Her mouth felt dry. "Hi, Mark." He studied her face. "You look tired." "I didn't sleep much," she replied. "Bad dreams?" he asked. "Yes," she said, and the word felt too small for the fear inside her. Mark nodded and walked toward the history section. Emily watched him, her thoughts racing. She wanted to ask him about the message, about the box, about Sarah, but she was afraid of what he might say. Later that afternoon, Emily found another letter. This one was placed carefully on her desk, right where she would see it. Her hands shook as she opened it. It talked about trust. It talked about how kindness could be used as a weapon, how people opened their hearts, and how easy it was to step inside and break everything. At the bottom was a single line. "You showed me how." Emily felt sick. She showed the letter to Detective Harris that evening. "This isn't proof," he said slowly, "but it is worrying. Do you think Mark could be involved?" Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We can't say that yet," Harris replied, "but we will talk to him." That night, police visited Mark's house. They found nothing illegal. No blood, no box, no letters. Mark answered their questions politely. He said he barely knew Sarah. He said Emily was kind, and kindness was rare. Too rare, he said. The police left with no reason to hold him. Emily felt torn apart. Part of her wanted to scream that he was dangerous. Another part of her felt guilty even thinking it. She had believed in him, trusted him, told him he mattered. What if she had been wrong? The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Then another extreme thing happened. A child went missing. 8-year-old Lucas Brown disappeared while walking home from school. His backpack was found near the playground. Inside it was a drawing. It showed stick figures holding hands. One of them was crossed out in red. The town panicked. Search teams filled the streets. The woods were searched again. Parents cried on the news. Brookside had never known fear like this. Emily could barely breathe. She thought of the children she helped at the library. She thought of Sarah. She thought of Mark's question. Even monsters. That evening, Emily received another message on her phone. "Do you see it now?" It read. "Pain spreads, just like kindness." She wanted to call the police, but something stopped her. Another message came. "Meet me. Alone. A time. A place. The old train station at the edge of town." Emily sat in silence, staring at the screen. If she went, she could be walking into a trap. If she didn't, what would happen next? She remembered Sarah's voice. "Be careful." She remembered the children at the library, their smiles, their trust. Sometimes, kindness meant being brave. Emily told Detective Harris she was going for a walk to clear her head. She lied. The train station was dark and empty. Rust covered the rails. The wind whistled through broken windows. Emily's heart pounded as she stepped inside. "Mark!" she called softly. A shadow moved. Then he stepped into the light. "You came," he said. "Where is Sarah?" Emily demanded, her fear turning into anger. "Where is Lucas?" Mark's face stayed calm. "You asked the wrong questions." "Then tell me the right ones," she shouted. He looked at her closely. "Why do you help people, Emily?" "Because it's the right thing to do." "And when they hurt you," he asked, "when they use you?" "I still try," she said, "because giving up makes the world worse." Mark smiled sadly. "That's where we are different." He stepped closer. "I learned something long ago. People only understand pain." Before Emily could respond, a loud noise echoed through the station. A door slammed shut behind her. She turned, her heart racing. Mark was no longer smiling. "You wanted to save everyone," he said quietly. "Now you get to choose." The lights went out. In the darkness, Emily heard a child's faint cry echo through the station. And then everything went silent. The darkness felt thick, like it had weight. Emily stood frozen as the lights went out, her heart beating so loudly she thought Mark must hear it. The old train station smelled of rust and dust. Somewhere far away, water dripped slowly, counting time she did not have. Then she heard it again. A child's cry. It was soft, weak, scared. "Lucas." Emily whispered. Her hands reached out into the dark, touching cold brick and sharp edges. Fear wrapped around her chest, but something stronger pushed through it. She had spent her whole life helping people. She could not stop now. "Mark," she called. "This isn't right. You don't have to do this." His voice came from somewhere she couldn't see. Calm, controlled. "You think this is about choice," he said. "It's not. It's about truth." Emily took a step forward. "Hurting people doesn't make the world better." "Neither does pretending," Mark replied. "I pretended for years. I watched people smile while others suffered. I watch kind people get used and thrown away. Another step. Her foot hit something metal, and it clanged loudly. The sound echoed, and for a moment she feared it would make him angry. But Mark laughed softly. Still brave, he said. That's why I chose you. Emily swallowed. Chose me for what? For understanding, he said. For seeing what people really are. A faint light flickered on at the far end of the station. Not enough to see clearly, but enough to show a small shape sitting against a pillar. Lucas. He was tired, his face wet with tears, his small body shaking. Emily rushed forward, forgetting everything else. Lucas, it's okay, she said, forcing calm into her voice. I'm here. Before she could reach him, Mark stepped out of the shadows, blocking her path. Not yet, he said. Please, Emily begged. He's just a child. So was I, Mark replied, his voice suddenly sharp, and no one came. Emily stopped. She looked at him, really looked. For the first time, she saw the pain behind his eyes. Deep, old, untreated. This doesn't heal that pain, she said softly. It only spreads it. Mark was silent for a long moment. Then the light snapped back on. Emily blinked, her eyes burning. Lucas was gone. So was Mark. All that remained was an empty rope on the floor and a single piece of paper taped to the wall. Emily ran to it with shaking hands. It read, Lesson 1. Hope hurts the most. Police sirens screamed outside. Detective Harris burst in with officers right behind him. They found Emily standing alone, staring at the wall, her face pale. Where's the boy? Harris demanded. I don't know, Emily said, her voice breaking. He was here. I heard him. They searched the station from top to bottom. No sign of Lucas. No sign of Mark. Only Emily's fingerprints. Emily's footprints. Outside, cameras flashed as reporters gathered. The story spread fast. Emily Carter, last seen with missing child. Emily Carter, librarian, person of interest. Emily sat in a small interview room at the police station for hours. She answered every question. She told the truth. But the truth sounded thin and strange even to her own ears. Letters, messages, a man who vanished into the dark. Detective Harris believed her more than most, but belief was not proof. You're not under arrest, he said finally, but don't leave town. Emily nodded numbly. When she stepped outside, the town she loved looked different. People stared, whispered. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. Kindness had turned into suspicion overnight. Emily went home and locked the door. She cried for Sarah, for Lucas, for herself. The next morning, another extreme thing happened. A package arrived at the police station. Inside was a child's shoe, Lucas's shoe. Attached to it was a note. He learns fast. Do you? The town erupted. Parents demanded answers. The mayor held a meeting. Police doubled patrols. Schools closed. Emily stayed inside, afraid to even open her curtains. Her phone buzzed. A message from the unknown number. You see what they think of you now. She threw the phone across the room. Another buzz. You wanted to help everyone. Now they blame you. Emily slid down the wall and hugged her knees. Her belief in kindness felt cracked, like thin glass about to shatter. That afternoon, Detective Harris visited her. You're not safe here, he said quietly. And neither is the town. Then stop him, Emily snapped, before more people get hurt. We're trying, Harris replied, but is always one step ahead. Emily hesitated. He talks about lessons, about pain, about being unseen. Harris nodded slowly. That sounds like someone with a plan. I think he wants me involved, Emily said. He wants me to watch. Harris studied her. Why you? Because I listened, she said. Because I believed in him. That night, Emily made a choice. If Mark wanted her attention, she would give it to him. She opened her laptop and logged into the town's online message board. With shaking hands, she wrote a post. I know you're reading this, she typed. You don't need to hurt anyone else. Talk to me. The response came within minutes. A private message, still trying to save everyone. Yes, she typed back. Even you. There was a pause. Then, meet me again. Tomorrow, same place. Emily's heart raced. She showed the message to Detective Harris. "It's a trap," he said. "I know," she replied, "but it might be our only chance." They made a plan. Police would watch from a distance. Emily would wear a wire. The next evening, Emily returned to the train station. Her hands shook as she waited. Mark appeared slowly, clapping softly. "Brave," he said, "or foolish?" "Where's Lucas?" Emily demanded. "Safe," Mark said, "for now." "What do you want?" she asked. "To finish the lesson," he replied. "To show the world what kindness really costs." Emily took a breath. It costs courage. It costs pain. But it's still worth it. Mark's eyes darkened. "We'll see." Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the station. A gunshot. Screams followed. Emily spun around as chaos broke out. In the confusion, Mark ran. And somewhere in the noise, a child screamed again, louder than before. Then silence. And Emily knew, with a sinking heart, that the worst lesson was still coming. The scream echoed in Emily's ears long after the train station fell silent. Police officers shouted commands. Boots pounded against the concrete floor. Flashing lights painted the broken walls red and blue. Somewhere in the chaos, Mark disappeared again, like smoke slipping through fingers. Emily stood frozen, her body shaking. "Emily." Detective Harris grabbed her arm. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak. "Get her outside," Harris ordered. "Now!" As officers rushed her out, Emily searched every face, every shadow, hoping to see Lucas, hoping to hear his voice again. But there was nothing, only fear. The gunshot turned out to be a warning shot fired by an officer when something moved in the dark. No one was hit. Mark had planned it that way. Confusion, panic, escape. Again. By morning, the news was everywhere. Second child still missing. Town terrorized by unknown suspect. Librarian involved in bizarre case. Emily stopped reading. She couldn't. Brookside felt like a different place now. The kindness she once felt in the air was gone, replaced by suspicion and anger. People argued in grocery stores. Neighbors watched each other through curtains. Fear had spread, just like Mark said it would. Emily was taken to a safe house outside town. A small place with white walls and no pictures. An officer sat outside her door day and night. She felt like a prisoner. Detective Harris visited her often. "Is pushing us," Harris said one evening. "Every move is meant to break people." "Is trying to break me," Emily replied quietly. Harris studied her. "Is it working?" Emily thought of Sarah, of Lucas, of the letters, of how her kindness had been twisted into a weapon. "I don't know," she said honestly. That night, Emily dreamed of the library. The shelves were empty, the books torn apart, words scattered across the floor like dead leaves. In the dream, Mark stood smiling, holding a single page. "See," he said, "stories always end the same." Emily woke up crying. The next morning brought another extreme event. A video appeared online. It was short, shaky, dark. Lucas sat on the floor of a small room. His hands were free, but his face was pale. He looked straight into the camera. "I'm okay," he said softly, like he had been told what to say. "Please don't be scared." Then Mark's voice came from behind the camera. "Fear teaches faster than hope," he said. Lesson 2. The video cut out. The country reacted instantly. Police from outside Brookside arrived. The FBI got involved. Reporters crowded the streets. The town was no longer just scared. It was angry. Emily watched the video once. That was enough. "He's using Lucas to talk to me," she told Harris. "Everything he does is for me to see." "Then help us understand him," Harris said. "Anything you remember. Anything at all." Emily closed her eyes. "He hates being ignored," she said slowly. "He believes pain is the only truth. He thinks kindness is a lie people tell to feel better about themselves." Harris nodded. "And you?" "I believe kindness is a choice," Emily replied, "even when it hurts." That afternoon, Emily received another message. "Still believe that?" She stared at the screen for a long time before typing back, "Yes." The reply came almost instantly. "Then prove it." A location appeared. Not the train station. The library. Emily's heart dropped. "You can't go," Harris said when she showed him the message. "It's too dangerous." "That place matters to him," Emily said. "It's where he felt seen, where he felt human." "It's also where he can hurt you," Harris replied. Emily met his eyes. "If I don't go, he'll hurt someone else." They argued. They planned. They prepared. As night fell, Emily returned to the library for the first time since everything began. The lights were off. The doors unlocked. Inside, the shelves stood quietly, just like always. "Mark," she called. He stepped out from between the aisles. "You came home," he said. "This was never your home," Emily replied gently. "But it could have been something good." Mark laughed softly. "Good doesn't last." "Neither does evil," she said. They walked slowly between the shelves. Childhood stories, history books, books about love and loss. "You help children here," Mark said. "You told them stories where the bad people lose." "Because they need hope," Emily replied. "And what if hope is a lie?" he asked. Emily stopped. "Then we make it real." For a moment, Mark looked unsure. Then his face hardened. He reached into his coat. Emily's breath caught. Instead of a weapon, he pulled out a book. Her book, the one she read to children every Friday. "Read," he said. Emily took the book with shaking hands. She opened it and began to read aloud, her voice trembling but clear. It was a simple story about helping others, about choosing kindness even when it's hard. As she read, she saw something change in Mark's eyes. A flicker, a memory. Then alarms blared. Police shouted outside. Mark's face twisted with rage. "You ruined it," he screamed. He shoved Emily aside and ran. Officers stormed in. Emily fell to the floor, coughing, her heart racing. Mark escaped again. But something was different this time. The next day, police found a new clue. A room in an abandoned building. Inside were drawings, letters, notes, and a map with one place circled. Sarah's house. Emily felt her chest tighten. "He's going back," she said. "He wants to finish where it started." That night, rain poured over Brookside. Police surrounded Sarah's house quietly. Emily waited nearby, watching the dark windows. Suddenly, a light turned on inside. A shadow moved. Then another extreme event happened. A loud crash shattered the silence. A scream followed, and Emily ran toward the house, knowing, with terrifying certainty, that the truth was about to come out. The scream cut through the rain like a knife. Emily ran, her shoes slipping on the wet ground. Police shouted behind her, telling her to stop, but she could not. Her heart pulled her forward, straight toward Sarah's house, the place where everything had broken. The front door hung open. Inside, lights flickered like they could not decide whether to stay alive. Rain blew in through a broken window, soaking the floor. The smell of damp wood and old coffee filled the air. "Sarah," Emily called, her voice shaking. No answer. Police moved in carefully, guns raised, checking every corner. Emily stood near the door, hugging herself, trying to breathe. Then Detective Harris raised his hand. "Stop," he whispered. From upstairs, a slow sound drifted down. Footsteps. One step. Then another. The whole house seemed to hold its breath. A shadow appeared at the top of the stairs. "Mark." He looked different. Tired. Wet. His calm smile was gone, replaced by something wild and sharp. "You should not be here," he said softly. "This ends tonight," Harris replied. "Put your hands up." Mark laughed. "Ends? No. This is a lesson." Suddenly, he stepped back into the darkness. A loud bang followed. The house shook. "Get out!" Harris shouted. Emily stumbled backward as officers rushed her outside. Smoke poured from the upstairs window. Fire alarms screamed. Fire trucks arrived fast. Water blasted the house. The rain mixed with smoke, turning the air gray and heavy. As the fire died down, officers went back inside. Emily waited, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. Minutes felt like hours. Then Harris came out. His face was pale. "We found someone," he said. Emily's breath caught. "Who?" "Alive," Harris said. "Barely." They carried a stretcher out. On it lay Sarah. She was thin, weak. Her eyes closed, but her chest rose and fell. Emily cried out and ran forward before anyone could stop her. "Sarah," she whispered, holding her hand. "I'm here." Sarah's eyes fluttered open. "Emily," she whispered. "Yes," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. "You're safe now." Sarah tried to smile, but it faded quickly. He wanted you to see," Sarah whispered. Emily swallowed hard. "Where's Lucas?" Sarah's eyes filled with fear. "I don't know," she said. "But he said the final lesson was coming." The ambulance doors closed. Sarah was rushed away. Mark was gone. Again. The town woke up to shocking news. Sarah Miller was alive. But the relief did not last long, because Lucas was still missing, and Mark had not been caught. Emily stayed at the hospital with Sarah all day. Doctors said Sarah would live, but she was very weak. She had been held in the basement of her own house for weeks, hidden behind a false wall. "He wanted me to listen," Sarah said quietly, "just like you listened to him." Emily felt sick. "I'm so sorry." Sarah squeezed her hand. "This isn't your fault. He chose this." That night, Emily sat alone in the hospital hallway. She felt empty, tired, angry. Her phone buzzed. One new message. "You saved one. Can you save the other?" Emily stayed at the screen. "Where's Lucas?" she typed back. 3 dots appeared. Then, "Where's stories end?" Emily's mind raced. "Stories," she whispered. "The library. But not the main room. The basement." Emily jumped up and ran. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't think. She just moved. The library basement was old and rarely used. Boxes of donated books. Old furniture. Dust. Emily flicked on the lights. "Lucas," she called. Nothing. Then she heard it. A soft cough. She rushed forward, pushing boxes aside. Lucas sat in the corner, wrapped in a blanket, shaking but alive. "Emily," he whispered. She dropped to her knees and hugged him. "It's okay," she said, crying. "You're safe now." A slow clap echoed behind her. She turned. Mark stood at the stairs. "You found him," he said. "Good." Emily stood, placing herself between Mark and Lucas. "Let him go," she said. "This is over." Mark shook his head. "You still don't understand." "What?" Emily asked. "That kindness doesn't stop evil," he said. "It feeds it." Emily took a deep breath. "No," she said. "Kindness is a choice. So is evil." Mark's face twisted. "People like you made me believe in lies." "I never lied to you," Emily said. "I believed in you." Mark stepped closer. "Then believe this." He pulled something from his coat. A lighter. He flicked it on. Gas cans lined the walls. Emily's heart dropped. "Mark, stop," she screamed. "You want an ending," he shouted. "Here it is." He threw the lighter. Flames burst across the floor. Smoke filled the room fast. Emily grabbed Lucas and ran. They reached the stairs, coughing, eyes burning. The door at the top slammed shut. Locked. Fire climbed the walls. Lucas cried. Emily banged on the door. "Help," she screamed. Her lungs burned. Then, through the smoke, she saw something. A bookcase. Behind it, a small door. The emergency exit. She pushed with all her strength. It opened. They fell into the night air. Police sirens screamed closer. Fire trucks arrived. Emily held Lucas tight as officers rushed to them. The library burned behind them. But Mark was gone. Again. As Lucas was taken away safely, Emily felt her legs give out. Harris knelt beside her. "He planned this," Emily said weakly. "The fire. The escape." Harris nodded. "But is running out of places." Emily looked at the burning library. "He wanted to destroy stories," she said, "because stories teach hope." Harris looked at her. "And you?" "I'll keep telling them," she said. As dawn broke, the fire died. The town stood watching the ruins. Lucas was safe. Sarah was alive. But Mark was still free. And Emily knew, deep in her bones, that the final lesson was still waiting. Somewhere, in the dark. The morning after the library burned, Brookside stood still. Smoke hung in the air like a bad memory. The library was nothing but black walls and broken windows. Books that once carried hope were now ash on the ground. Emily stood across the street, holding a paper cup of coffee she was not drinking. Lucas was safe. Sarah was recovering. But peace did not come, because Mark Davis was still out there, and everyone knew it. Police blocked roads in and out of town. Officers from many places worked together now. Helicopters flew overhead. Dogs searched the woods. Every abandoned building was checked. Still, no Mark. Emily felt tired in a way she had never felt before. Not just in her body, but in her heart. She had spent her whole life believing kindness could change people. Now she wondered if she had been wrong. Detective Harris joined her. "He won't disappear forever," he said. "People like him want to be seen." Emily nodded. "He wants an ending." Harris looked at her. "And he wants you there to see it." That night, Emily could not sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked wrong. At 2:14 a.m., her phone buzzed. One final message. "Last lesson. Come alone." A location followed. The old water tower on the edge of town. Emily stayed at the screen. Her hands shook, but her mind was clear. She typed back one word. "Okay." She left a note for Detective Harris. She did not explain much. She knew he would follow anyway. But she also knew Mark would disappear if he felt watched. The water tower stood tall and lonely against the night sky. The wind howled around it, making it sound like something alive. Emily climbed the metal stairs slowly, each step echoing. At the top, Mark waited. He stood near the edge, looking out at the sleeping town. The lights below looked small and far away. "You came," he said without turning. "Yes," Emily replied. "It ends tonight." Mark laughed softly. "Everything ends eventually." Emily stepped closer. "You hurt people. Innocent people. Children." "They were lessons," he said. "The world didn't listen when I was kind." "You were never kind," Emily said gently. "You were hurt." Mark turned to face her. His eyes were tired. "Empty. Don't pity me," he snapped. "I don't," Emily said. "I believe you could have chosen differently." Mark's face twisted. "Choice is an illusion." "No," Emily said firmly. "It's not." Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Mark smiled. "They're coming." "Yes," Emily said. "And this time, you won't run." Mark stepped closer to the edge. "You still don't get it," he said. "Kindness didn't stop me. It invited me in." Emily felt tears fill her eyes. Kindness didn't create your pain. Someone else did. Mark's hand shook. No one cared. "I did," Emily said. "I still do." For a long moment, the wind was the only sound. Then Mark pulled a knife from his pocket. Emily did not move. "Put it down," she said softly. "This is the truth," Mark said. "This is who I am." Emily took one slow step forward. "No," she said. "This is who you chose to be." Police lights flashed below. Mark looked down, then back at Emily. "You'll tell them a story," he said. "Make it about hope." "I will tell the truth," Emily replied. "That evil is loud, but kindness stays." Mark's grip loosened. His shoulders dropped. The knife slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. For the first time, Mark looked small. Police rushed up the stairs. Officers shouted. Hands grabbed Mark and pulled him back from the edge. He did not fight. As they took him away, Mark looked at Emily one last time. "Was it worth it?" he asked quietly. Emily nodded through her tears. "Yes," she said, "because I didn't become you." Weeks passed. Mark Davis was charged with multiple crimes. The town learned the full truth. The letters, the planning, the pain he had hidden behind quiet smiles. Sarah recovered slowly, surrounded by people who loved her. Lucas went home to his parents. He started drawing again. This time, all the stick figures were holding hands. The library was rebuilt. On opening day, Emily stood in front of a room full of children and parents. The shelves were new. The walls were bright. She opened a book and began to read. Her voice was steady, because she understood something now. Kindness does not mean being blind. Empathy does not mean ignoring danger. And believing in good does not mean evil won't exist. It means choosing to stand anyway. If the story made you feel something, Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Talk about it. Remind others that kindness matters, but so does awareness. And if you want more true stories like this, follow, up it, and stay with me for the next one.